Offworld came about when I was talking to Adam, my producer, about maybe we should actually do another small short film, because we haven't got round to doing anything together yet. And we started looking at photos of locations and things in the area, you know, local to Wales, and we're thinking this might make a good sort of alien landscape. And from that, it sort of snowballed into, well, if it's an alien landscape, we need some actors on it, and what can they do? Well, we can't have them on giant space stations or anything like that. So we just went with a survival story where these people have to fight against the elements and survive against, you know, themselves and everything else around them. So that's how it came about.
The Pan-Global Colonization Initiative invites you to be one of the first to set foot on a new planet, to begin your new life on the first of many off-world settlements. Our world, as any school child knows, is dying, fatally polluted and all but exhausted of its natural resources. But there is a whole new world, a world we can treat better. Welcome to Epsilon Eridani b. Almost all but forgotten are the vibrant colors of nature, which we've lost here on Earth. But on Epsilon Eridani b, nature thrives and awaits your adventures. Employment for everyone, from agriculture to mail, interstellar communication to hairdressing. Every successful applicant will have a job, and your children will benefit from the very best education. The Tantalus 2 will transport you across the galaxy, traveling at just under the speed of light. Safely on board, you will sleep away the entire 10-year journey comfortably in state-of-the-art cryo-sleep chambers, leaving you fresh and revitalized for your new life ahead. So why wait? Get your application and donation in now to secure a place among the first 200 candidates. If you're unsuccessful, don't worry. PGCI will keep your application for the next transport ship. Pan-Global Colonization Initiative, taking you to a better world.
At this stage, we're quite early on into the production, but I'm surprised at how much we've done already. We've actually cast the entire film. We've got some costumes coming in, you know, that are being ordered. We've got props being made. We've got a great friend of mine who's 3D printing some pistols for use in the film. There are 2 small guns used, so they'll be 3D printed. I've also got in contact with a friend of mine I used to work with over 20 odd years ago, and he's a award-winning scale modeler who's going to be building a miniature of the spaceship. But on the other hand, we've also got new technology, so I've got CGI animators and artists who are building the ship in CG, and it's still in progress, but every time somebody sees something new or a new version of the ship with extra detail on it, it just gets better and better, so that's going to be great. The most difficult obstacle with writing the script was a matter of balance, I think. We've got quite a large ensemble cast, but almost everyone's a main character. There are different levels of importance within the characters, but I think it's a case of making sure everyone gets their moment in the script and no one's sort of neglected, or no one's sort of got a smaller role than the others. We're giving everyone a kind of mixed balance.
Yeah, I think getting the script as a second writer, probably the biggest challenge is making sure everything actually works and all plugs together. So it's reading through that script and making sure that all the things that are in Terry's head actually turned up, so that when you see the film, everything makes sense. We haven't sort of left out some crucial part of the plot, really, that we all knew and we just forgot to tell you.
Yeah, I think the casting definitely influenced the way the characters are written. I quite like this for a change. Not a lot of films have done that way, but it's quite nice to have actors in mind as you're writing, because then you can play to their strengths and you can write things that you imagine the actors saying and the way they're behaving. So yeah, I quite enjoyed the way that was done. So it definitely led into the characters' personalities.
Unless you're me, because I hadn't met any of the actors when I did my draft, so then the complete opposite. But they're actors, so they have to pretend to be other people. That's the gig, I think.
There are two, I would say, lead characters in it. I would say the protagonist is probably Jan, because she's the leader of the mission. And the antagonist is probably the person she bumps heads with the most, which is the Dan Ronson character.
Yeah, I think they're the obvious kind of hero-villain type. But I think if you look at each character goes on their own individual journey. So probably the antagonist really it's the environment, it's the situation. And some of them thrive initially and then don't cope, some of them don't cope and then thrive. And I think that's quite important. All the characters change as the story goes on.
The film is funded, it's going to be funded by a crowdfunding campaign, which is basically how a lot of independent short films are made. We're going to fund it in other ways as well. We're going to have appearances at events and conventions, everything from raffles to donations, etc. But hopefully the money that we raise will make the production a bit easier for everyone, with travelling expenses, food, and, to a certain extent then the more we raise, the better effects we can have, the better costumes we can have, and things like that.
What do we do in conventions? Well, every time we have a convention or an event like this, we set the table out to tell everyone what Offworld is about. We show them things like 3D printed model of the ship and some of the merchandise, posters, information in a book, and things like that, just to get people to find out what the film is about, because a lot of people don't even know what it is just yet. Merchandise, well, at the moment it's mostly t-shirts and mission patches, but we're starting to do things like consumables, food things that will be seen in the film. Thermal blankets, food, chocolate bars, this kind of thing. And some of these for sale, and we also raffle off a giant Nerf gun. All the money raised at all these type of events go to the day-to-day costs during shooting. So that'll be things like petrol expenses, food, running around, batteries, accommodation, little things like that you have to buy things you have to spend money on every day while you're filming.
I think the most difficult obstacle in pre-production is people management. There's lots of problems with every part of the production and obstacles you have to get over, but one of the hardest things is when you've got such a large cast and a large production team as well, making sure that everyone knows what's happening and everyone's in control of their own department, and also making sure everyone gets to places on time, etc. That's the hard thing. You've literally got to herd everyone constantly and try and keep everyone informed. In my role as director, I look at the directors I admire. So that would be people like George Lucas or Steven Spielberg, Edgar Wright, Joss Whedon, and Kevin Smith as well. What I like about Kevin Smith, he's a kind of an underdog who started off much like this with a low budget film and went on to great things, and it's very inspiring. As a director, this is my first time at directing, so I'm just working from what I've learned from watching these directors and other people like Chris Bevan, who's our first AD. He taught me quite a lot about directing when I did a film with him a few years ago.